Why do you think all of our sisters, for some reason now, a certain song will play, what they automatically start doing? Twerking. That's in our subconscious to do that. You know what I'm saying? But then guess what? As holy people, do you think we should be operating like that? You got the so-called Mexicans, they, to this day, they going hard no matter what the weather is like. They building up these cities. And then guess what? They barely getting paid anything. Why do you think they want a beer as soon as they get off of work? Why do you think we want to smoke weed as soon as we get off of work? We want to relax from an oppressive state. We oppress. But then the only reason why we oppress is because we offended God and breaking his commandments. That's the only reason why we oppress. That's our power. The reason why we march, we protest, we do all these things, and then it's to no avail. We still have that same system that's going, where we march, we protest, nothing ever happens. Is because we're still under those curses. That's why you think you got black men today that's opening up the book and reading it, and not only are we reading it, we're applying those things in it because we see what's happening. The rest of the world, they should see holiness through us on how we move to where they say, man, this is a wise people. Right. This is a holy people.
What's streaming with kingdom dreaming? My soul is screaming for a wicked legion to see for breathing, invested grieving. Side of Egypt, tiny Egypt, Lord, bring me freedom. Hallelujah, singing, Lord, and swing low. Sweet chariot, carry me to a place where melanin is abrased. My womb pushes like jewels and money sees the taste of God is in a.
We're oppressed in this city, right? So now watch this. To summarize everything dealing with the curses that God said would happen, this is one of our forefathers. He's a prophet, Daniel. You heard of him, right? You heard of Daniel? He was known for that great dream that he had to where he was able to help give Nebuchadnezzar the understanding of the different kingdom that was going to be established. But then watch what Daniel said. He was somebody that God loved dearly. Watch what he says. Read.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
So, looking at the sign, all Israel have transgressed God's law. You know what transgress mean? Anyone of y'all know what transgress mean?
They went against
sin, or went against God. That's right, same thing. To transgress, that means that God gave certain laws, he gave certain commandments, he gave a culture to us to make it more simple. He gave a culture to us for us to follow that separates us from the rest of the world, but then we say, you know what, God, I hear what you're saying, but I want to do what the Amorites are doing. Right. I want to do what the Moabites are doing. That's your Chinese today. I'd rather do what these other nations are doing instead of that covenant that was given to us.
Right.
So because of that, we all as a nation have transgressed against God. All of us. Not just you, not just me, but as a whole nation collectively, we all did our part to offend our God in the sins that we decided to entertain or to deal with.
Right.
So then God says something about that. So read it again.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing.
So all Israel have transgressed God's laws, even by departing. Read.
That they might not obey thy voice.
That we might not what? Obey his voice. What do you think God's voice is? Where?
His word to his people.
His word, that's right. And his prophets are the one that brings it out to give us the understanding behind God's words. Right. But then we departed from God's words, read.
Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
What's one of the curses? We just read it earlier.
Like I said again, you got the field.
Cursed in the field.
City.
Cursed in the city, right? So these are examples, and we're going to get more curses to help y'all pinpoint to understand that this is talking about us.
Right.
Because guess what? Have you ever heard anything about the so-called white man picking cottons, anything like that? Sugar, tobacco in those fields? No, that never happened to them. But even in the islands, you got the so-called Jamaicans, that's what they did. Even the Argentinians, so forth and so on, wherever there's a certain economy to where that economy benefit off of the coffee beans, whatever you can think of, guess what? These people are the ones that's going hard in the fields, that's picking it and not profiting from it.
Right.
We're the ones that's made to do all the labor. Who you think built America up? You got the so-called Mexicans, they, till this day, they going hard no matter what the weather is like. They building up these cities.
Right.
And then guess what? They barely getting paid anything. Why do you think they want a beer as soon as they get off of work? They got to relax from an oppressive state. Why do you think we want to smoke weed as soon as we get off of work? We want to relax from an oppressive state. We're oppressed.
Right.
But then the only reason why we're oppressed is because we offended God and breaking his commandments. That's the only reason why we're oppressed. That's our power. You know what Israel mean? You know what Israel mean? Okay, you know what I said? Watch this. I'm going to show y'all what Israel means. We're going to go right back to Daniel. The terminology that we go by today, African American, black, Negro, whatever you can think of, all these first and foremost were made up terms recently. Meaning like African American, that came from Al Sharpton in the 1990s. So before we was known as African American by Al Sharpton, you know what we called ourselves? Colored. And before colored, we was called Negroes. You know what I'm saying? But then guess what? All that happened during our oppressive state. But before we was oppressed, before we had captives and gave us our understanding of who we were, guess what? We knew who we were. We was the Israelites.
Right.
Why do you think they made sure we couldn't read the Bible, that we stopped calling ourselves these different tribes here? They made sure we wouldn't have any comprehension in this Bible by if you got caught reading it during slavery, what would happen? What would happen if you got caught reading the Bible during slavery times?
You get broke down.
You gonna be what?
Get broke down. You gonna get whooped. My bad.
There's gonna be more than that. It's gonna be more than that. They might do it for a first time as an example, but then they keep seeing you reading it, they're gonna put you to death.
Right.
They don't want
Slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything, not only when their eyes on you, and to curry the favor, but with sincerity of the heart and reference of the Lord.
I don't believe it. How old are you, boy?
I ain't been on you, sir.
Pay up, gentlemen. It's dangerous, you know. Teaching them to read? That's true. Nat Turner was taught to read.
They don't want us to have no liberation mind. That's why with Nat Turner, if y'all ever seen that movie, The Birth of a Nation, guess what? Once he started to read this Bible, he saw that the message didn't relate to anyone else outside of his people. So then he would start to go to different slave plantations, and when master would go away, he would open up this book and he'll read the true understanding of it.
Now I have heard the groaning of the Israelites whom the Egyptians hold in slavery, and I have remembered my promise. Say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord. And I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out from under their bondage. And I will redeem you with a stretched out arm, and ye shall know that I am the Lord.
And he'll read things, we'll get it, watch, we'll show you by example of what things he will read, but let's find out what Israel means. Read.
Genesis chapter 32 and verse 28. And he said, thy name shall be no more called Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince has thy power with God.
So Israel means as a prince, you have power with God. So where's our power? But then if we offend our God, do you think we're going to have power? No. Bro, when you read throughout this Bible, by example, the land of Jerusalem, that's our homeland. That's our true homeland. It's not America. It ain't. It's a part of Africa, which is the northeast region, right? Jerusalem, that's the land that belonged to us. But before we got to that land, you had Canaanites, or so-called Africans, who dwelt in that land. But God says, you know what? I'm going to drive out these nations from before you. And then when we went to war with them, it wasn't us that got the victory. It was God that was literally fighting for us. He had death angels that would go through the midst of the city and destroy all the different heathen. Right. Just so that we can be able to have the land, because that was the covenant that he made with us. Every time we went to war, God was always on our side. Right. But if we committed sin, God would allow the Amorites or the Jebusites or whatever other nation to destroy us or to come against us. Right. When we're in America, the reason why we march, we protest, we do all these things, and then it's to no avail. We still have that same system that's going, where the people that kill us, they get out free. We march, we protest, nothing ever happens. It's because we're still under those curses. We haven't escaped from under it. Right. Because our power is God. But then when we do contrary to God's words, he won't fight for us. That's why you think you got black men today that's opening up the book and reading it, and not only are we reading it, we're applying those things in it because we see what's happening. We're woke now. Right. We're illuminated. We comprehend this world and how this world tried to destroy us. And now we're fighting against it. But then guess what? The way we actually fight against it is by being able to wake each other up.
Right.
To understand that we at a war. Did you know we was at war right now? The so-called black man? Get 2 Corinthians 10:4.
Bring it out.
Do it look like we're at a war? It don't look like that. You know why? Because the war is not us picking up guns or knives or weapons, but the war is right here.
Right.
And guess what? The oppressor knows that if they destroy us here, then there's nothing that we're gonna do against that system that's set up for our oppression.
Right.
So then it's a psychological warfare. That's the type of war that we in. Watch what God says right here. Read that.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 10 and verse 4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
The weapons of our warfare is not carnal. Carnal meaning fleshly, meaning going to actual literal war fighting against people. It's not that type of war we have. Read.
But mighty through God to pulling down the strongholds.
Through what? You know where strongholds reside at? A stronghold resides where?
Right.
That's right, in your mind. So the strongholds that we have is all of the different indoctrinations that have us fighting against serving our God. We have thoughts in our mind that, guess what? Have y'all ever seen that movie, Inception? Have you ever seen it? Yeah, real good movie. In that movie, basically you have these, I guess you can call them agents or whatever. What they do is they literally go into the subconscious of individuals and they can shape the mind of that person. That's happening today, but it's happening not on the scale of what we think. Nobody literally is having themselves go inside our minds literally. But guess what? How do you think they do it? They do it through TV,
right.
They do it through media, they do it through music. Why do you think all of our sisters, for some reason now, a certain song will play, what they automatically start doing?
Twerking.
Twerking. That's in our subconscious to do that. You know what I'm saying? But then guess what? As holy people, do you think we should be operating like that? When we bend over, we shaking our ass, you can damn near see their vagina crack. I mean, your vagina crack, you can see all that. That's not right.
Right.
As holy people, we're supposed to conduct ourselves holy. Meaning that the rest of the world, they should see holiness through us on how we move to where they say, man, this is a wise people.
Right.
Right.
This is a holy people.
Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. It's nation time.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word